I said I wasn't going to do any more of these commentaries, but I was sitting around yesterday and I was watching some mindless TV and thinking, how come I haven't heard any of announcements about the board meeting? TriMet has this burner account. They have a burner account called TriMet News. It's a TriMet sponsored Twitter account with 200 followers. And that's where they post their meeting notices because they know nobody is actually uh, paying attention to that account. Because TriMet has always been this super secret agency, and people don't remember that it was me and Jason McHuff way back starting in around 2006 that started bringing the board meetings public. Jason actually went in and recorded them, and then we put them on YouTube, and then Jason put them on cable access TV. And it wasn't until 2012 when the Secretary of State became under pressure because McFarlane had cut fair and square, he cut our benefits, he claimed fiscal cliff, he did all these really nasty things. And it turned out he hid himself a secret bonus. And so Coin TV got involved with that and put some pressure on him, and it started a fake audit that the state did. Now, when the state got done with the audit, they didn't address these. It came out a year later. This is typical standard operating procedure. Government will try to delay as long as possible, hope that people forget the controversies. Anyway, one of the things that did come out of that fake audit was that the TriMet board needed to be more transparent. And so they did create this accountability center, which you can find online at trimet.org. You got to scroll around. It's not easy to find, but you can do it. And they also started broadcasting their own meetings finally. So me and Jason didn't have to do it. So they don't want people to really know about any of this. And that's how it's always been, and it's still that way. And so I was I was scrolling around at their transparency center, and I noticed. Let me show you. Um, I'm not getting verified. I was, I'm not, and I noticed this. And I went, can you read that? What's this? The Tribal Board of Directors will hold an executive session to review the general manager's annual performance. This executive session is closed to the public. That's very questionable right there because this is a fully taxpayer funded organization. They're not supposed to be able to do shit in secret, but we already know that TriMet does what they want. Nobody can stop them. There's nothing you can do. Okay. News media who want to attend and agree not to disclose any content of the executive board session can contact. So this is top secret. So so it made me think, what the hell? What happened at the last meeting? And then it turned out that the last meeting was only held. They didn't have an actual board meeting. They did it remotely. And so we know why this is happening. They're going to give him a raise and a bonus, even though he's completely destroyed the agency. I mean, let's remember he went from Vision 2030, 120 million rides, to all of a sudden there was this U-turn several months ago. I don't know, 5, 6 months. All of a sudden, out of the blue, there's a fiscal cliff. And this happened at multiple agencies at the same time. All of a sudden, out of the blue, they all had a fiscal cliff. Of course, we're not going to talk about the $1 trillion military budget, the $100 billion budget to throw out poor, hapless immigrants who are trying to just survive. We're not going to talk about all the money that gets wasted. And we already understand that the government is a crime syndicate. We know these things. Now, so I started looking at this, and it's really funny. I mean, really, they went from a 90-degree turn from 120 million rides to now we're going to cut the shit out of everything. Of course, I'm curious. I can't help it. I'm curious. I mean, they're sending me my check, and I'd rather they eliminate all the service than eliminate our retirements, because this is America, and in America, all you care about is yourself. You don't care about other people. You care about you. If you're doing good, who cares if everybody else is in the ditch? And so that's how I'm supposed to feel, right? So they send me my retirement. I have no complaints. But I'm curious as to the process that went from Vision 2030, 120 million rides. They expanded service. They bragged about expanding the greatest service increase in history, to now the greatest service decrease in history. So what happened? My theory is it's some kind of agenda coming down from above them. Okay, because we're just cattle. You understand? I understand how this actually works. We're cattle. They treat us like cattle, and we can't do anything. I mean, you see Trump. The Trump show is really a very good example of how ridiculous our government can be. I mean, he's carrying on all these. The Constitution is shredded to pieces, but the MAGA nuts, those MAGA morons, they're okay with it because it's their guy, and they care more about the libs than they do about a totalitarian dictatorship. And that's the country we live in now. So anyway, I wanted to look into this because I was interested in it. So I'm doing this. Let me just check to make sure everything's going. Check. Yep, everything's going. So I want to know what's going on here. And I know it's only going to be a few people will see it. But I want to see it. And so while I'm watching it, I'm going to record it. So let's go.
With lawmakers for hopefully increasing the STIF funding.
See, there was no mention of any of the STIF until recently. If you look through the 2026 FY budget, this was not a thing. Okay, they didn't have this in there. Like, our service is contingent upon this new fucking tax grab. And if you remember, in 2017, the legislature just foisted a tax increase on everybody without a vote of the people, which is what they do in these western states. You don't see any of this in the East Coast states. Now, it doesn't happen like this here. I don't know why that is. I guess the West Coast is more pliable. But I mean, they still do it here. I'm in Massachusetts, which is really not a good state to live in. It's way too expensive here. But I'm here for another year at least. And then I'm thinking about moving finally after been many years.
And do the necessary outreach.
Oh, okay. Wait, before we start this, I had I wanted you to see that this is the current TriMet budget. You can see 2026. Operations is only 44% of the budget. It's not even half. It's not even half of the budget. But yet they're making it sound like this. We're going to cut this and not the rest of this. And you see this general administrative budget here. This is $231,000. And if you look at the 2019 budget, it was $98,000. So Sam has more than doubled the general and administration budget. Operations, even then, were only 40% of the budget, and all this other shit. Okay, the pension service. That's holy shit. That service was 148 million in 2019. So they've cut that down a bit. Wow, so it's only 74 million, but that's more than the post-employment. Remember, this is money to nothing. That's the money the banks skim off the top. So I wanted to show you those figures, because this whole thing is just another psyop in the never-ending psyops that we, the cattle, have to sit through. It's like watching Trump sit up there and go, "The people in Washington can't wait for the National Guard." They just get up there and lie. And we, the cattle, have to sit here and listen to it because we can't do anything about it. And they know that. That's why and he's just getting that. He was already at 400. He was already at the top of his wage scale. So they're going to raise it again because there's never been, as long as I've been watching this, which is starting around 2006, they've never denied a general manager a raise. They've never said anything. They've always loved every single general manager they've had since I've been watching this.
Fair increase. We want to be as thoughtful as we can
See,
and
see
really
this.
take the necessary time again
See
as we
how see this crap. I mean, that's what they said during the fare increase. Remember, we're going to be thoughtful. We're going to take public testimony, and it was 99% against it. But they raised the fares anyway, and that's what's going to happen here. So he's going to pretend that he cares about you when we know that he doesn't. We know that he doesn't. He's a soulless career technocrat, ex-military, and ex-military has been, their empathy has been beaten out of them. They follow orders. They don't. All these goons you see kidnapping people off the streets, those are all non-thinking human beings that just follow orders.
work toward a better financial position. So, how will we get there?
Now, there's been no evidence as to how he got into this, okay? There's no evidence. He just announced it, and we're supposed to believe it. There's no evidence of how this happened. Don't forget, not long ago, they were giving $7,500 bonuses to get drivers there. So they went from that to, oh my God, we have a $300 million job. It's exactly $300 million, not 275.6 or 301.7. It's exactly $300 million. Exactly. So it's just made up. They just make it up. And they get a professional liar like a Mr. Sam Desue in there to push this shit. And that's why he makes the money. Because that's what you need, a professional liar.
As we move forward? We are going to solve our $300 million deficit. We're looking to three things. One, we need to save $159 million through service reductions. We
So
need
he's
to
talking about So he's talking about 25% cut from operations, which is only 44. He's talking about a 25% cut here.
save $93 million through
93 million. So what would that be of 231? Probably the same amount. My mathematics is too. Yeah. This is way over. This should be just whacked back to 2019 level. I mean, when I was working at TriMet, all the management was in the same building. They were all in Center Street. The executives and general manager, everybody was in Center Street. But as all of this neoliberal pork barrel government has expanded, you now see the offices of TriMet in a fancy building for $40 million.
general and administrative reductions. And then we need to work towards a $48 million in additional revenue increase. And I want to note, and I think this is very critical for us as we talk today. I want to note that if we are unsuccessful in gaining new revenue through a fare increase or through an increase in stiff, we will.
So they're gonna increase the fares again, okay? And I'm sure they're gonna roll out the police state on the peasants because they're doing it all around the country, and I'm sure Portland TriMet is coming too. I'm sure it will happen here.
will need to make an additional $48 million in service and operational cuts to fill the $300 million deficit. So at this point, we are moving forward to reduce overall service by about 10% by the end of calendar year 2027. So we're going to reduce
Next year. Okay, that's next December, not the coming December, but next December. So they're already cutting 10%. Just cutting it. So they're going to cut 10%. So they're going to cut $54 million this year.
reduce our overall service by 10% by the end of 2027. And again, we will need to make deeper reductions beyond that if the additional revenues are not generated. We are going to do this in a
Point out another thing here. I don't think I have the chart pulled up, but TriMet has a dedicated payroll tax, and it takes in more than $600 million a year. That's a dedicated tax to run transit. That is enough to run the operations, okay? The transit tax that's on the payrolls in the Portland metro area is supposed to be going to running the system. And if that was actually true, they wouldn't be having any reductions. But they take that money and, it gets funneled through their little machine. And there you go. There we are.
very phased approach, starting with relatively modest reductions, doing cuts to frequency first in November this year, and again in March of 2026. And with that, I want to just caveat there will be no bus lines or no train lines reduced. It's only frequency first in
You
November.
mean little bus lines and train lines being okay? That's what you mean. You can't talk. He can't talk right.
And also March. And with the cuts to Max and bus service, we will also have associated cuts, service cuts on our Lyft paratransit services. But then
Yeah, on the list they just introduced their on-demand ride. So that's on-demand Lyft. It's gone. I'm sure that's gone. So that was all for nothing too. This play. I mean, he really should get the ditch. I mean, Sam should get the ditch for letting this happen. He should be out the door, but instead he'll get a bonus and a raise because that's how it works. That's the kind of government we have.
we will need to make deeper cuts in calendar year December of 2026. And then we're going to do it again in December of 2027. We will begin this November with reducing frequencies in the evenings. And I want to repeat that. This
Yeah,
November,
yeah.
reducing frequency
Stop repeating. We hear you. Move along. You don't need to do that. You don't need to repeat yourself.
in the evenings on four bus lines. And we will cut frequency in the evenings on our FX2 division at night and early mornings. Another round of cuts, another round will come in March of 2026,
Right now,
where we will reduce the number of trips during some morning and evening periods on 4 frequent service bus lines. And this is in March, again, of 2026. We will also engage the public and adjust plans as needed before implementing larger cuts in the winter.
Yeah, we will engage the public and then do what we want, which is what we've always done.
Of 2026 and also the winter of 2027.
So they're
The
just gonna
timing of these larger cuts will give us
they're just cutting the shit. So get a car, get a motorcycle, get a motorbike, get a bicycle. You've got to get out of the TriMet. You're going to stop taking the TriMet. And if you're stuck on the TriMet, I would stick with the Max only. Okay, the light rail. They're going to put light rail will always be the priority because that's the developer's tool. If you're stuck on transit, make sure you're either in downtown Portland, which gets tons of service, or on one of those Max lines. If you're out on one of those non-frequent lines, just count on your line being gone soon because that's what's going to happen.
the time that we need to carefully, and I mean carefully,
Yeah, sure.
consider public input,
Yeah.
legislative action, and also our own internal efficiencies. So right now, we plan on making additional cuts that will bring us to an overall 10% reduction in service on both bus and Max. Max changes may include such changes as frequency adjustments. And really, we're looking at
That phony psyop. $250 million. I could have wiped out the budget shortfall with that useless project and send the Ren line back to just between Gateway and the airport. I mean, another pork barrel money laundering operation by TriMet.
Possibly changing the Green Line to operate only between Gateway and Clackamas.
So why do you think they had this online only and didn't want to meet in person? It's because of this. They don't want anybody protesting. They don't want any problems. You know, they're not. This agency is going down, down, down. More secret, more secret. You know, I just heard. I don't watch the board meetings, but I did hear the president of the board saying we're not going to answer any public testimonies. It's going to all be the general manager.
Town Center, forcing a transfer onto the blue line or the red line for people to get into downtown. Bus changes will include further frequency reductions and may involve eliminating additional lines or portions of the lines. I want to talk to you a little bit about what we're looking at from our internal perspective, non-service spending reduction. While we're working to minimize the level of service reductions by taking a phased approach, we are also trimming costs throughout the agency. We will pause all new discretionary initiatives for the next 3 years. Also limiting future increases to $3 million annually, and thereafter a reduction from our $7.5 million in annual discretion spending presented in our prior adopted budgets. We also plan to reduce our general and administrative.
Will you please make sense? Can you do it? I know time for you. Try.
Costs across the organization by 5%. We plan on a number of efficiency reviews across the division, including a full review of our workforce. And that's underway right now that we're starting. We're starting at the top of the organization. And I just want to put that out to the board and to the public. The first review is
number one. We got worth $500,000 a year.
Starting to look at the executive team of this organization. We're gonna focus on our state of good repair. We're making a long.
They're still going ahead with these projects. These projects should be canceled. Oh, but we've committed to it. You should be getting rid of the West. The West is this giant money-sucking, useless piece of TriMet that should be eliminated. But they're still doing capital projects is not affected by any of this. Just peasants. Peasants have to always eat shit in this country.
Long overdue commitment to our state of good repair backlog, which is in our financial forecast now. I want to just let you know, board and the public, that our state of good repair was not in our financial forecast. So now we're putting that in our financial forecast as we move forward. Also included in our financial forecast over the next 15 years is funding to support fleet replacement needs and capital investments. And then additional revenue that we're talking about. Finally, we're going to seek additional revenue as part of the solution. We plan to propose. In this speech, government always runs out of money. It's the same story over and over and over. It's a money grubbing, money sucking operation that just won't stop growing. The only way to stop these monsters is for the entire financial system to collapse, which means we all go down together. It's definitely a possibility. I don't know how long they can keep this illusion going. Some people think they can keep it going for decades to go. I thought it was going to collapse in 2008, and of course they just started printing money, and they're still printing money. And throughout history, that always ends badly, and there's no reason to believe it won't end badly this time. An adult fare increase of 20 cents to become effective the fall of 2028. And this is in alignment with our strategic financial plan fare policy. So this one-time fare increase that we're talking about in the fall of 2028 is approximately, it will bring in an additional $5 million per year in revenue. We will also continue to pursue a stiff increase, which I'm being told that there's a possibility that there's testimony either on the 25th or the 29th, and we're waiting on state leaders to let us know. But we're going to continue to pursue that. A stiff increase of a 0.1% would double our current receipts and bring us up to $103 million per year. So right now, we're getting a 0.1%, which is about half of that. If it doubles that, if we get the additional 0.1, it'll take us to a 0.2, and the revenue that will come in will be $103 million per year. We're also looking at other areas where we may be able to generate more revenue. So I want to just stop and pause and just let you know that's a really quick update on where we are with with things now. And as you all are aware, we are not the only public entity that's going through these types of financial issues. Governments, which you just seen with ODOT, you've seen with PBOT here locally, and all 77 of our transit agencies across the state of Oregon is going through it. And then I can tell you, majority of all large transit agencies around the country are going through this process as well. We are all facing significant and immediately fiscal cliffs.
When your money is tax money is stolen for everything else but what you need. You should not be dependent on this stuff. Okay? You should not be dependent on government you shouldn't be dependent on transit. In the 80s and 90s, TriMet was world class, but it all ended when Fred Hansen showed up and started building light rail. And now you're just going to have a skeleton system that's basically going to just exist to get the peasants to jobs 9 to 5. Okay, it's not going to be there. No more of the we're going to get choice riders. No, none of that. It's all gone.
That are there. But I do want to just remind you the difference here at TriMet is that we have noted before is that we have some reserves. And we are different from most organizations.
They have like $1 billion. It's close to $1 billion.
Right now.
And they have a dedicated payroll tax, which he hasn't mentioned. I'm not going to bring that up because we don't want the peasants to know that we're guaranteed $600 million a year no matter what. We don't want the peasants to know that. Well, I know that.
Now, those reserves will provide us time to be thoughtful, to be measured.
See, he goes from Vision 2030, expanding at 120, to fiscal cliff. There's no in between. It's like one day it's this, the next day it's that, and they expect nobody to be paying attention, and most people aren't. I mean, with all the other shit going on with this Trump circus, he's taking all of our energy. That was the point of putting Trump back in power and showing the world that we actually do have a king. We have a king. And there's no pushback in Congress. All those fucking useless pieces of shit in Congress are just like, okay, the millionaire class is happy. They like him. But capitalism it functions best under fascism. He's using tax money to fund private enterprise. Mussolini defined that as fascism when the government and the private enterprise become one thing.
And phased in our approach. But by acting now, and I want to say this again, by us acting now.
See how he just keeps repeating himself? We don't need to hear you twice. Why do you do this? Why? I think he's just stumbling over stuff is what I think.
Now, we are putting TriMet on a very stable path forward. And this is a tremendous amount of work to do. But again, we want to take the necessary time to get things done right, the right way, at the right time.
The right way at the right time is to fuck the peasants.
focus.
You're not taking a pay cut. None of these people are taking a pay cut, are you? You're not taking a pay cut, are you, Sam? You're getting a raise. That makes you a hypocrite. That makes you a lying hypocrite.
And I want to be real clear with you, board. Our focus over the next 5 years is rebuilding the TriMet that we know and love so that we can be better positioned
Listen to this guy. God, it's bullshit.
for future growth and sustainable for decades to come. And I just really want to assure you again, I want to assure you and I want to assure the community that we are committed to doing all of this with care, compassion, and transparency. And with that,